Hello, 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 hello. So it is a quarter to midnight, and I don't plan on being here long, but um, I wanted to keep my consistency up with coming at you live and also practicing and realizing that I don't have to maximize the volume in order to be heard across the airwaves. Join aside. First in the live chat. If you see the title, we are saying bye to not necessarily forever, but I'll be completely honest. I'm not going to hump a dry cow. His his content today. Here's the thing that I demand of my insaniacs. It's consistency. Um, if Matt Mercer and the rest of the Critical Role members are the Judas Iscariot's stabbing the Jesus Christ superstar Veronica in the back. Don't switch foot on me and now tell me that they are trying to sell me a new narrative, that they are now the holy polyhedrons of Gary Gygax's prophetic vision of yesteryear, which is essentially what he's. No, no, no. Mario, here's what you need to understand. It is J. Scott Garibay that has failed Orion Akaba, not us. The Metatron's candle has gone out. If I were to play you J. Scott Garibay videos today, it would be no talk of Orion Akaba, and it is this new vision that the Gary Gygax dreamed of, these platonic solids that are Orion Akaba? No, no, no. That were Marcia Gay Harden. I have no idea who these dwindle doys are, these eight-sided, four-sided, six-sided dingleberries from Matt Mercer's cheeks that are supposed to be what? The new visions of the Daggerheart vision. No, no, Jay. No, Jay. You're not going to play me for a fool. When it comes back to um, you'll know prophet of God when he speaks true visions. When the fire brings true smoke, I will scream from the mountaintop, and until then, I'll tell you about other things. Jumpchains. Have you heard about it? I had no idea that there was any sort of role playing, nerddom, time wasting that I didn't know about. You know, you get to a certain age where you think you've heard and seen it all. But imagine my surprise when I accidentally stumbled across a kind of bizarre, it's not even really solo, it's got implications for solo RPG play. These cats and kittens definitely are TTRPG adjacent, poking around their Discord servers and their Reddit back alleys will let you know that quite quickly. But I had never heard about this shit. I'll tell you exactly what went down. You end up picking up bad subscriptions online. No, no, no. Not those sort of bad subscriptions. It seems like a good idea. You say to yourself, "Oh, I'll subscribe to Scribd. I'll just hang out there for a month. I'll download all the free PDFs. I'll get out of there in short order, and it won't be too big a financial loss." And then before you know it, you see it hitting your bank account once, twice, and all of a sudden you realize, "Oh my, I spent like $40. Before I cancel it 3 days. Let me at least try and make my money's worth. Let me get in there, gather up all the free PDFs that I can before I ended up spending $60 on the subscription service that I didn't use at all." So you go in there and you start grabbing up all this crap. And all of a sudden, there was a TTRPG out of Japan that I was interested in called Necronica. So I was grabbing up all this stuff, these TTRPGs from Japan that I could get my hands on, anything that vaguely looked like it was Japanese and translated into English. Fan shit, fan translations, bad fan translations, stuff that was actually in kanji, whatever. I come across a whole bunch of stuff that was labeled Jump Chain, and I had no idea what it was. And then it starts to lead me down this rabbit hole. And what is this stuff? CYOA, choose your own adventure. Okay, well, I get that, from back in the day, like the choose your own adventure books. I'm like, what is this? Are these like uh, guidebooks? What is this? Is it like solo TPRG beat the TTRPG stuff that no one has filled in the rules for? Are these stuff that they're rule books that I just don't have the missing pieces for? And the community is kind of not user friendly. There's no real good on ramp. So it took me a while to kind of figure out what was going on. So basically, what the deal is this. It's kind of like this. Back in the day, there was I think it's a guy called Quicksilver, who invented this kind of style of, it's kind of a framework for creating your own kind of fan fiction about an individual, like a self insert, a kind of yourself as a make believe character called a jumper. And Death Angel Shadow, welcome to the proceedings. Excuse me if I sound confusing, because this is a kind of a confusing subject. We're talking about jump chains, okay? And it's kind of a confusing thing. It was confusing for me. It's been about 3 weeks that I've been exploring this subject. And so if you're joining us, understand that you're hearing a person who doesn't quite understand the subject, is kind of coming to terms with the subject. So we're kind of going to be learning about it together. And I'm going to do my best to kind of explain to you what I've learned. So what it is kind of like a framework for creating your own fan fiction. But looking at it, I clearly see that if you're a solo role player, you can use it as a framework to put more rules into it and get it going more as a more solo TTRPG centric thing. The way the jump chainers themselves do it is more like, fan fiction. They don't really concentrate on using rules, but they're definitely TTRPG players amongst the fray in there. And you can tell because there are GURPS jump chains, there are Dungeons and Dragons jump chains, there's a lot of exalted jump chains. And what the theory is this is that you have a jumper, an imaginary character that starts off on one fictional world, Perkimon, like Pokemon world. That was the first one. The first jump chain was the Pokemon trainer jump chain world. And you'll have this person in this Pokemon trainer world, and they'll be there for 10 years, picking up various skills and assets, companions, what have you. And then they will go to another world, the world of Willy Wonka, the world of The Simpsons, the world of Warhammer 40K, and they will be there for 10 years. And if they survive, they will either stay in that magical world or they will go on to another fictional world, the world of the Transformers, the world of My Little Pony, the world of Mortal Kombat, some other magical world, fictional world, where they will stay for another 10 years trying to survive. And if they survive, they will stay there and or go on to another world all the time, picking up some new set of assets, skills, powers, and manifestations, moving on and on and on, all the time, either surviving and thriving, gaining more powers and abilities, visiting these various different worlds, and or dying along the way. If they die, they go back home to wherever or wake up and I'm back on Earth, me, or they die or some other thing, or they go to their magical warehouse where they start off and go to some other, end state or whatever, where they move on. And eventually they become some sort of omnipotent god. I guess it's something from borrowed from the narrative of Magic the gathering some sort of allspark or something where they've reached this final conclusory spark where they become so powerful that they are now like some sort of omnipotent god able to go throughout the multiverse. Sound crazy and confusing? I was crazy and confused because I got it, but what I didn't get was, okay, so you're on these worlds and you get these powers, but you're telling me you could die there. But how? How could you die there? And then eventually, after hours of searching through these Reddit posts and these endless Discord entries, someone finally, you just hit upon someone finally saying, yeah, no, it's just fan fiction. Like, you make up these stories about these people there, and either they die or they go on, or you imagine your person there for 10 years and you think about what could happen there. And that was it. I was like, wait, that's it? And that's it. So they have sort of mathematical rules for some of these jump documents, like each little document, each little world that the people create, like this is the Transformers jump chain. You get these perks, these powers. They have these. I'll start introducing it. I'll start showing you what I found, and we'll start looking at it together, and you'll see it's this weird kind of halfway point between rules and no rules, where they'll say things like you have this many points to buy this many perks, and they'll say things like if you buy this many perks, the perks will stack in this way. But you're like, but it's all narrative and there's no, but this is how they get off. And they just get in these Discord servers and say, yeah, and what would happen next? It's choose your own adventure. And it's thrilling and fascinating to me. And one of the lessons that I learned is that this apparently has been going on since about, I think the first document that was generated by this person named Quicksilver. This first jump chain was generated. It was the Pokemon Trainer jump chain written by Quicksilver, who I guess is kind of like the Morpheus or the architect of jump chains. And I think it came out in 2017. So this has been going on for quite some time. And the community is quite large, but not on YouTube. So it's one of these fascinating things. I Most of my internet interaction is YouTube. That's how I experience things. That's how I get my information. That's how I prefer to get my information. But I become aware of the fact that there's a whole bunch of scenes. A lot of TTRPG information doesn't happen on YouTube. A lot of 5e stuff, a lot of modern mainstream WotC, 5e, anti-WotC, pro-WotC, Pathfinder kind of narrative and mishigas happens on YouTube. But when I think of things like, gee, Troika must not exist at all, even though I'm interested in that, because if you put in search for Troika on YouTube, there's almost nothing. You'd think that it doesn't exist. If you go to itch.io, or if you go to Discord, or if you go to Reddit, or if you go to blog posts, that's where you see it explode. And that's where all the information is. If you want to get into stuff like, I got really interested in this style of TTRPG play called FKR. It doesn't exist on YouTube. Where it exists is on Discord and on blogs. There are certain aspects of TTRPG information exchange that still happen and still occur in the preferred methodology of those communities in text, not in this audiovisual YouTube space. And that seems to be the case with this jump chain stuff. When I found out about jump chains, Sam Shadow, we say, hey, Sam Shadow, welcome to the live chat. When I found out about this jump chain stuff, immediately my desire was, okay, let me immerse myself in this information. Let me find out more stuff. I went right to YouTube and I found one dude. This dude, let me show you. Lucianos Gonzalez. Luciano apparently started off being very into politics and different things. But then I'd say about it looks like maybe about a year and a half ago, started switching their content. I really don't know what their pronouns are, over to jump chains. They're very active in the jump chain community on Discord, on Reddit, I think, but mainly on Discord, I think. And they do, while still doing a lot of political stuff, they do a lot with jump chains. So if you're interested in exploring jump chains on YouTube and you're not interested in seeing a moron who doesn't know what they're talking about, a la me, you would want to check out Lucianos Gonzalez, who writes jump chains and explains jump chains very well. Okay. Um, they aren't terribly proactive on YouTube. You see, like their last video was a month ago, and you can see that even um, even though they're the one person doing a jump chain material, how to start a jump chain only has 300 views. Generic liminal jump space read through only has 110 views. But without a doubt, this individual is the DJ Cool Herc of jump chain material. We got our boy Bernie Sanders over here. Liminal space deep dive. He's another person like me who comes in, comes out. High School Musical jump chain. And there's jump chains for everything. What we do in the shadows, jump, doc, read through. But when I wanted to educate myself on jump chains, this was the resource that I found on YouTube. And it was an excellent resource. Their videos, they've got playlists, progressing to jump chain, the second jump, excellent 323 views. But you'll see, this is on YouTube. Had actually started jump chain 1,000.6 views a year ago. Not a hugely popular topic, but a topic that I find absolutely and have found very fascinating. So check out this channel without a doubt. Let me see if I can. Hold on. I have to do this. Let me do this. Boop-a-doo-doop-a-doo. Copy here. Do this. Bam. Let's stop sharing. This. We say hello to Xnard Prime. I said, did your research the people with birthdays near? No, I didn't. But I leave the birthday and the astrological research to the experts like you, Xnard Prime. Though I found the statements that you made about David Wilcock and his the closeness of their research to the birthday of J. Scott Garibay fascinating. And I teased you. I made a comment to, I made a response to one of your comments on one of my videos. I joked about not knowing who David Wilcock was. I don't know if you know this or if you're teasing me or trolling me. Before I set all the videos on my original old school channel to private, you know, I have an illustrious history with David Wilcock. One of his close associates was involved in a lawsuit with me. Luckily, I won after many years. We got the lawsuit dismissed, and I won the action for attorney's fees. And now we have to get the finalized judgment, which costs more money, of course. And then I'll get to hopefully one day collect those fees. Yes. Death Angel says, it seems like solo make-believe, to be honest. Rules are what distinguishes a game from make-believe, whether solo or cooperative. As we move through my exploration of jump chains, what I will be doing in my exploration of jump chains, though I don't think I'm the only person who has done this, I've actually been utilizing Chat GPT, will be exploring my interest in incorporating rules, my solo and other standard solo TTRPG rules into the framework of Jumpchains in order to use them as resource. No, David Wilcock wasn't my adversary per se, though he was closely associated with the plaintiff in an action in which I was the defendant. And an individual whom, not to get into it too much, but an individual that I was once an online friend with is now apparently being accused by David Wilcock of being a murderer, which is par for the course in this whole thing. But it's no big deal. It's as much a solo. It's as much a LARP as anything we're discussing now. And to be totally honest, it's probably less true and more of a LARP than what we're actually discussing now. So, without further ado, let me do this. Let me look a little bit at some of by way of a primer, the body weight, never mind. Let me look a little bit at the primer, some of the primer materials that I've been able to find to see. And this video is just going to be literally just kind of scratching the surface and introducing the subject. And like I said, this guy, Lucianos Gonzalez, would definitely be the person to look at first. This video is more me saying, hey guys, you know what I've been doing in my solo TTRPG world is looking at this new subject that I stumbled across, Jumpchains. Not really saying to the world or saying to you, to saying, hey, this is a video about something at which I'm an expert in. Jumpchains is more along the lines of, here's something that I'm interested in and you might be interested in too. So let me take a look at some materials that I've been able to generate and look at, and some stuff that I found that might get us started. Here we go. Some documents that I can pull up. So I'm going to be looking at some stuff that I was able to generate with queries from ChatGPT, and I'm going to be looking at these just to make sure that I kind of steer clear of any sort of like copyright issues, and to know that these are things that while I generated them with ChatGPT, they squared with what I had read previously, with material that I'd seen in the jump chain community. So it wasn't like that I think that I can run afoul of putting stuff out there that is like, bumblefuck. You know what I mean? Like this is like ridiculous, like jump chain means this, and it's like totally ridiculous shit. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I won't be putting stuff up on screen that people be like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like that's, even though I think it's like fair, it's all fair use. You know what I mean? I don't think it's gonna be a problem either way. In fact, I don't really give a shit. I don't think it'll matter. Yeah, because all the shit's out there for free. It's like it's all like community, yeah, or whatever. I don't think this game will give a damn. Let me see what I got here. Yeah, you know what I mean. In fact, I don't even, yeah, dude, I'm gonna just do this one because like no one even puts their fucking name on this shit. So here's something that I found that's just called How to Jump Chain. So this one even makes reference to the first like kind of generic don't put a body in the wishing well. It'll come back to haunt you. Hey, listen, the first person that did stuff with the penile gland was Descartes. He didn't know what the hell he's talking about. Anyway, here we go. Let's see if this works. No vouch, no vouch, no vouch, no vouch. Here we go. Ooh, stepped on a vouch. Okay, no, I don't think I diced myself on this one. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Here we go. Okay, here we go. How to jump chain. Okay, step number 1, read the Pokemon trainer jump. We no longer have to do that. There's like a generic first jump that you can use as well. This is like, you can really technically, I think, use any jump document. They're called jump documents. There's like a preferred way to like make them. Like it's all like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, uh, you know, shaving a haircut, like knock 3 times, you know what I mean? Turn around, stick your head, like it's all like, community, standards and you know what I mean? Like if you do it like this, people know that you're hip. If you do it like that, people know that you're square. You know what I mean? Like you hang out in the Discord and people are like, this is how you do it. You know what I'm saying? And like it started on 4chan, but check this out. It started on 4chan, but apparently where it started on 4chan, so there's all these different servers. There's like a Reddit server, and there's a 4chan server, and there's like another community. There's like 4 main communities, and they all have their different drives. And so they all have maintain different Google drives where they all put their own jump chain documents. But so you're not supposed to like cross upload the documents. You're supposed to upload your document to the community that you hang out on, right? And each community has their own like rules. But check it out, right? The 4chan group was apparently the group that was the strictest about not doing not safe for work stuff. Isn't that crazy? But I don't know. So here's a document called How to Jump Chain. Number 1, read the Pokemon Trainer Jump. That was like the first. That was like the jump chain document. That was like the first one. That was like the monolith jump chain document. But apparently now there's like other generic jump chain first jump documents. Okay, or you can do like anyone you want, but you run the risk of dying on your first jump in your imagination, right? You run the risk of dying in Minecraft on your first jump in your mind, because you might be like run into an OP little dot in your mind if you don't buy the right perks in your imagination. Because I don't know how it works, but when I read the Pokemon Trainer Jump, it gives the introduction to Jump Chain! Exclamation point. And by tradition, you had like this part of me, like I was like, when I read, I'm like the kind of guy. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna do the Pokemon Trainer Jump first. But I was like, okay, but I don't know that much about Perkman, right? Except I when my kids first got the Switch, I used to play Let's Go Eevee with them, so I know a little bit about Perkman. But I was like psyched out. I was like, I want to do this jump chain thing, but I don't know that much about Perkman. But whatever. So by tradition is the first tradition. Anyway, it's worth noting that while you do not have to take PMT, I guess it's Pokemon Trainer Jump, as your first jump, you can only take it as your first jump. Meaning that if you don't do the Pokemon Trainer Jump as your first jump, you can't do Pokemon Trainer Jump at a later jump, right? You can only do Pokemon Trainer Jump as a first jump. If you try and do it apparently as a second or third jump, or God forbid, like as a 100th jump, the world explodes. And Donald Trump could be voted in as president, and India and Pakistan go to war. Oh my God, somebody did it. See what I did there? The Pokemon Trainer Jump should be the OP PDF. I think that's the original post PDF. If it is not, feel free to look in the Google Drive in the Quicksilver's Jumps folder. I thought Quicksilver is like the Morpheus of this whole thing. The file will be listed as Pokemon Jump Chain and will be in the Pokemon Trainer folder. Okay, I'm 50. I'm going to be 50 in August. Okay, read the rules. The link to the rules pastebin will be located in the OP. After completing your first jump, you can use the supplements located in Quicksilver's Jumps folder. The warehouse and body mod supplements are highly recommended but not required. The warehouse is a supplement where, so because after you do jumps, you can, during your jumps, you can pick up like items and you can pick up companions. But there are rules as to whether or not you can bring companions and items into subsequent jumps. So, what do you do with companions and items and stuff that you can't bring into subsequent jumps? Well, if you have a warehouse, you could put things like Perkimans that you can't bring into subsequent jumps. You can put them in the warehouse in like, stasis pods, or they can like cold kick it live in like, training facilities, or, you could go there, or you could like, if you die, instead of going back to, Earth 23 or whatever, I forget what our number is, you go back to the warehouse. And the body mod supplement is so you can change your physical standard apparatus. Also, you can have alt forms that you can pick up. Like if you go into a certain world where you become like a squirrel, you could then have that be a thing that you could become, I think, in subs. There's different rules. Anyway, once you've completed your first jump and the supplements, feel free to select a second jump. The Jump Chain Google Drive has a variety of jumps from various IPs. They're like literally like there's like Seinfeld jumps. There's like Wings, like the show Wings. Like you can go like like B movie. You can go like anything you want to. There's like generic ones. There's like not safe for work ones. I've got like some like check this out, man. I'll do like a quick read through of like the different jumps that I've like downloaded. Hold on. I'll just give you like like some of the ones I did: Darkstalkers, Destiny, Doom, Dragon Quest, Dungeons and Dragons, Final Fantasy, Ghost of the Shell, GURPS, GURPS. Like GURPS is generic role playing to begin with. So how could you go? Like I was like, what? It's like a whole folder. What the hell is this? GURPS Dungeon Fantasy, GURPS Monster Hunters, GURPS Sci Wars, GURPS Technomancer. What? You know what I mean? High School of the Dead, Mortal Kombat, The Simpsons. Yo, I can't wait to do that one. I've got ideas at the wazoo for the Simpsons one. Anyway, Exalted, Solaris, ActRaiser, Necronica, Alien versus Predator, Bikini Warriors. Don't get me started. There's so many not safe for work ones I downloaded. Don't even get me started. Conspiracy Theorist Gauntlet, Cosmic Shipping Container. I'm gonna use that instead of a warehouse. I'm just dying. Dark Souls, Demolition Man, Demon Souls. So yo, the whole point is like you go to one and then you go to another, then you go to another. So the whole point is like my whole thing is like I wanted to start at like simple ones like The Simpsons, and then like you keep on like going up and going up. And as you go to different jump chains, like as you keep on jumping, the whole thing is like your jumper is gets like like they keep on getting bigger, like crazy and crazy more powerful, right? Because like you start off like like in the Pokemon world, then like you can like I think you can buff your Pokemon. Like so you take your Pokemon to Dark Souls, right? And then you put like like you know what I mean? Like you start like you know what I mean? Like putting buffs on the Charizard and shit. You know what I mean? Erotic Equestria. The fuck is that? Futurama. Generic BDSM. You know what I mean? Don't even get me started. Generic fat fetish. You know what I mean? Anyway, heavy metal jump chain, not heavy metal, but like the movie. Um, Kid Icarus. Remember the Nintendo game Kid Icarus? Mad Men. Oh my god. I must kill. What was his name? Draper. What was his name? Daniel Draper. Matt Draper. Stephen Draper. What was his name? Whatever the fuck his name. He's dead. Oregon Trail. Dude. Populous. Rick and Morty. Species, dude. The Evil Dead. The Matrix. I must kill Neo. You can go to Matrix Jump Chain with a Pokemon and kill Neo. Just fucking kill Neo. That'd be great. They live. Oh my god. Just that's what you want to do, right? That's what you want to do it. Anyway, so there you go. Once you complete your first jump and the supplements, feel free to blah blah blah. The jump chain can provide jumps for various IPs. But what is it? Jump Chain is a series of interconnected CYOAs, choose your own adventures, wherein the jumper, either you or a character you create, keeps the abilities and items gained from previous jump chain, CYOAs, as he or she moves through the subsequent jump chains, CYOAs. When does it end? What's the final goal? The jump chain experience culminates in an end jump. End jumps are few and far between, and you should ask the thread to see what does or does not qualify as an end jump. Upon successfully completing an end jump, the jumper earns the spark. The spark is a planeswalker old spark, that's from Magic, right? That's from Magic the Gathering, which more or less places the jumper on continuum of omnipotence and allows the jumper to move freely throughout the multiverse. After the spark is earned, the game, such as it is over. As such, many jumper fair use, by the way, if anyone claims this as intellectual property, fuck you didn't sign the document. As such, many jumpers will refrain from taking an end jump in order to continue playing the game. But what's the point? Jumpers all jump for their own reasons. Some jumpers jump for adventure, so they make the builds and plan their jumps around challenges. Other jumpers are magpies and jump in order to collect. Jumpers are heroes, villains, gods, researchers, murder hobos, harem protagonists, and eldritch abominations. Jumpers explore themes, visit their favorite settings, loathe the settings, and more or less do whatever makes sense to that individual jumper. It's your story. Tell it how you want. Miscellaneous. If you have a question, ask the thread. Yes, the thread can be as salty as you've heard. All the same, if you have a question, feel free to ask the thread. You should get the answer you're looking for. Jump Chain is a purely single-player experience. Nobody cares how much more powerful you are than another jumper. The final bit of advice is rule number 1. Asking why a jump for IPX doesn't exist is tantamount to volunteering to create Jump X. Okay. GURPS is like saying D20. Fair enough. Fair enough. Death Angel Shadow. 4chan not wanting, not safe for work is oxymoronic. My thoughts exactly. What do you call a Jamaican proctologist? Pokemon. Lord of Mercy. Samson Simpson. I stick by my story. I'm from Jamaica, man. From where in Jamaica do you hail? Near the beach. I love Darkstalkers. Really, you? You love Darkstalkers? Come on. Come on. We got Grok versus ChatGPT. I bet you they're the same people behind the scenes. There you go. Roll past one, roll past the other. Back to the videotape. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Here we go. So you get a little bit of the picture. Hopefully a little bit of the picture. What else do I got here? So moving off that, what I then did, let me see what I got here. So I think we have this, that, but I want to, off of what, let's do this because I want to do this. So do a little bit of this. I'm going to look at another document that's got a little bit more detail, but I'm only going to cover, like, I'm going to do one of these where we read the first sentence of every paragraph because we don't have what it takes to do an in-depth analysis. Are there evil jumpers? And if you jump into Quantum Leap, are there evil leapers? What is good? What is evil? I think they already like posed that question. You could be there to F around to find out. You can learn about yourself. You can learn about others. Some people just create the build. Just go and they look at the document. The jump document basically allows you to build the jumper. And we'll take a look at the next thing that we look at will give us a little bit of an idea of what details are involved in a standard jump document. Like I said, we're just going to skim it a little bit for details. And then if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about my ideas that I worked with ChatGPT to talk about how dice mechanics can be put in. And this is not going to strike a TTRPG player as anything remarkably unique. In your brain, if you're an experienced TTRPG player, your brain could already probably fill these things in yourself, like oracles, like, standard dice resolution mechanics, right? Success or failure. M.A.R. Barker's Perfected. Opposed die rolls. You know what I mean? If we have a disagreement, 2d6 versus 2d6, or my d20 versus your d20. And if you prevail, then your conception of reality holds forth. If I prevail, my conception of reality holds forth. And if we want to get really sophisticated about it, the difference between the numbers can be looked at as some sort of augur of just how wide a disparity exists. You think, or you know. Hold on to that thought as we go one step beyond. And bear in mind, it may be the subject matter, maybe the individual trying to describe the subject matter to you. It may be my lack of preparation, and maybe all of the above. Or maybe J. Scott Garibay. How about a J. Scott Garibay jump chain? Indeed, that is when the wedgie goes atomic. So you want to start Jump Chain. Not really, but we're here already. So again, just looking at the first sentence of every paragraph. You heard about jump chains, maybe from a forum post somewhere, maybe from a CYOA thread, maybe from some asshole on YouTube. I added that part in. I'm being cute. Some basic information about jump chains. A jump chain is a series of documents, each one focused on a specific world or setting, typically from a piece of media, though generic jumps do exist that cover a wider concept, like cooking or comedy or Adolf Hitler's birthday. God, gotta stop making jokes. I'm kidding. There's nothing funny about cooking or comedy. You see what I did there? I made light of Adolf Hitler's birthday. I'll pay for that. Jump chain documents break down into one of three categories: jumps, gauntlets, and supplements. Because jumpers are hopping from reality to reality, their own state, body mod aside, is often in flux. The rudimentary structure of most jumps is as follows, with those marked as asterisks being ones that don't appear in all jumps, but appear often enough to bear mentioning here. Intro. Here's the basic info. You're here for 10 years, etc. That seems to be the standard rule, that the jumps last for 10 years, unless noted otherwise. Age plus gender info, if not provided, unique for each origin. When you get into each individual jump, you're kind of given a choice of different identities, different origins you can be. 1000 CP. No, not that CP. These are character points or creation points. The currency used to purchase things for use here and to take with post jump. Maybe name something else to better fit the jump in question, or to avoid having to constantly say CP, because that gets awkward. Location, where you start out, originate from, origins, class, race, etc. Perks, personal or very large things that change the fundamental nature, skills, and or abilities of the jumper. Categories, general, origin-based. Items, physical, non-sentient things that the jumper gains normal use of. Categories, general, origin-based. Companions, friends, allies, comrades, loved ones. Categories, import, make, original, canon, unique, origin based. So each origin, like usually each jump document, will give you a choice of different origins that you can have. You could be this sort of character, that sort of character, this sort of character. Each of these origins will have a standard set of perks that will be kind of assigned to them or oriented to them. Those perks will have, be cheaper for each individual type of person or more expensive for the other types of people. Likewise with items, companions can be of the jump, itself, or imported at a price from externally, and be, unique to the different origin packages, or, cost more otherwise. Drawbacks. This is like, if you have point buy systems in different TTRPGs, you can take different drawbacks, penalties, and then get more creation points to be spent on other things for the different drawbacks that you get. And then scenarios, radical shifts in the scope of the jump in exchange for unique boons and bonuses. Like if you agree that you have a specific job to do in the jump that might be more strenuous or hard to do, or if you agree that you'll be in sort of under some sort of plague or warlike conditions during the jump, then, making it more hard to do or more difficult, even though it's purely narrative. There's nothing that's going to make it harder. There's no, even though it'll say in some of these jumps, it'll act as though there's a difficulty meter that's being cranked up. It'll act as though It is like a game, like, Fallout New Vegas. You can have like a difficulty setting, it'll act like, oh, you're ranking up, you're turning up the thing. It'll even say like you're toggling on the difficulty rating, but it's text. It's, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And then at the end of all of these jumps, you're giving these three options. You can go home and your jumper experience, resolve everything and go back home. You can stay and choose to stay in this jumped to imaginary world and live out your life there, or you can jump to the next jump in the chain. Location. Location is simple. A randomized chart, usually something like roll a 1d8 with 8 being a free choice and 1 through 7 being specific locations in that setting. Origins. Origins are the fundamental building blocks of a jumper's time in a given jump. Typically, the number of origins is limited within their given grouping, archetypes, job class, races, how they ended up here, etc., and rarely is more than two groups of origins listed, with only a single group given for more straightforward jumps. If the origins differ wildly, then rather than a flat age roll to start, age rolls may be attached to each of them. Perks and items. Perks and items are grouped together to explain here because they are at the core of every jump and are what the majority, if not all, of a jumper's points will be spent on. Items, conversely, are what you have. Perks and items have costs never totaling less than 25 each, normally appearing in 100, 200, 300, etc. denominations. A perk or item that an origin gets for free should inevitably be a defining feature of that origin. The biggest ticket entries in this group are often big. One-shot or otherwise limited quantity perks and items typically do have a unique disclaimer, however, about their refresh rate. Some perks and items, however, should be universal both in their desire and or their rarity. Lastly, on rare occasions, someone might feel that anyone going to a jump would need or should have something, no matter what they pick or did before. In this case, it's fine to throw a free entry or two into a general for perks or items. Companions. Companions are a unique case in that they are, by their nature, alive or equivalent and capable of free thought to some degree. Companion options are typically fairly general, with most jumps paring it down to two options at most, either import create, which will grab a prior companion or make a new one appropriate to the setting, or canon companion, which will lets you pick something from this setting who was in the original media, albeit with a caveat that you'll have to convince them to join you on your multiversal adventures if you pick the latter. Import create usually provides something. Now remember, this is purely narrative, but you could always, do a roll to say what's the probability that this individual companion would be willing to, like, what is the likelihood if you're playing The Simpsons, right? You're in Simpsons world and you are now prepared to leave the Simpsons world and go to uh, uh, but I don't know, um, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, right? What is the probability that most Sizzlack would be willing to go to that world, right? And you could assign a probability and then roll for it. You know what I mean? And if you've got certain perks that make you like convincing or charming or hospitable to Mo, if you got like points with him because you like loyalty or whatever, henchman mechanics and whatever, you know, that influences the role. And he goes with you. You know what I mean? You've been through a lot. See what I'm saying? Gamify it. Import create usually provides something to the that's not in, that's me telling you that's not um that's not canonical to jump chains. That's me telling you as people from the TTRPG world, hey, if you are saying, Benjamin, I don't get what you're talking about this jump chain shit. What the fuck is this airy fairy, jump chain, CYOA crap? The hell's, you know what I mean? This sounds fruity. I feel like I need a beer. I'm saying to you, hey man, you know, um, Lamentations of Flame Princess, Moses likes a henchman. Will he go with you to Friendship is Magic? That's a loyalty roll. There's a table for that. There's a table for that. Huh? Huh? And now it's not just make believe. Now there's a mechanic. Hmm? 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 See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? There's the jump chain. There's our mechanics. Jump chain, mechanics, jump chain, mechanics, jump. Now it's a game. See what I'm saying? Mo Sislak, Friendship's Magic, Mo and Horse. Mo Horse. See what I'm doing? There you go. Resume. Anyway, there you go. Import create usually provides something to the companion select with semi-scaling costs or something like 50 C. I gotta figure out some different thing. This CP thing doesn't work. 50 CP for one, 200 CP for a group of 8. Blah blah blah. Here we go. Canon companions are different in that this umbrella term often applies to anyone within that setting who actually existed in the pages, episodes, question mark of the core media. You know what I mean? Like Rose from the Golden Girls, right? Or Fish from Barney Miller. Exceptions to the rule of two above, however, can come in the form of big names, unique characters that break the general formula enough to merit being treated differently. Maybe you took a Powerpuff Girl jump and want to get them to come with. There you go. That's a lot higher on the totem pole than, say, recruiting fuzzy lumpkins. So the cost is typically higher. Why? Couple. Okay, I shouldn't have read on. Losing a companion or perk or item that you paid CP for normally only removes it from play for this jump. If even that, numerous items will say, why the fuck did they pick CP as the demarcate? I mean, how the fuck did they not know that would be a problem moving forward? I'm just gonna call it GP from now on. I'm just gonna say GP whenever I see that word, because that's not gonna work for me. That's just not gonna work for me. That's just not gonna work for anybody. What were these fucking anime douchebag asshole motherfuckers thinking? How the fuck did they not think that was not gonna be a fucking problem? Were they so innocent of mind? No pun intended. Were they simples? No pun intended. Everyone's gonna get flagged. Jesus Christ. Just as authors often keep character sheets for their jumper, most will keep sheets for the jumper's companions. As in both cases, their growing list of advantages can require bookkeeping even after a single jump, let alone several. A drawback front loads you with GP in exchange for something that complicates the entire stay in some fashion. Generation points. There you go. One major rule when it comes to drawbacks is that in a fight between perks and drawback wins. If your jumper has a perk that says you are immune to all diseases, But you take a drawback that says every 2 months you have a killer head cold. Every 2 months, the jumper has a killer head cold. Get it? Drawbacks either have a cap, i.e., can take up to 600 GP worth of combined drawbacks, or if not, mention that there is no cap. Rarely a drawback comes with a special boon if taken and completed. A scenario can be superficially similar to a drawback, but few grant GP. Not all jumps have scenarios. All jumps have drawbacks. 7. Home stay jump. Finally, with all said and done, 10 years reached or ending requirement achieved, the jumper reaches the conclusion. All drawbacks are removed. Negative aspects of perks and items may be removed, depending on if any exist and how generous the jump's author is, and the jumper gets to keep all the rest they paid for or otherwise earned. The jumper can go home, return to their world of origin, stay here, or jump to the next link in the chain, i.e., the next jump document their authors picks to go to. Simple enough, but like most elements of the jump chain, spell it out. As Stanley once said, every comic is someone's first comic. Gauntlets. Lastly, one should discuss gauntlets. Gauntlets are like jumps, but evil. They're hard, cruel, painful on multiple levels, or just an overall slog. Why do them then? Often there's a lot of carrots on the line, but we'll get there when we get there. The basic structure remains the same as a jump, except for a few minor exceptions. Gauntlets do not follow the 10-year rule by default. Rather, most, if not all, have a very specific end goal in mind. What entices a jumper to go through this, to be in rough seas without a paddle, to have to take drawbacks to earn anything in this deadly place? Gauntlets are rare, at least compared to jumps. A final note, some gauntlets include a plus 1,000 GP drawback that negates all the gauntlet nature of the jump and makes it a normal jump. No limits, access to a warehouse, and all perks, etc. Conclusion. Jumps are what the two halves of the coin make them, the authors who write them and the player authors who take the jumpers through them. Blah, blah, blah. And for the jumpers and their authors, enjoy. As much as little as you want to. Several forums exist to support Jumpchains fans as well as Discord servers. Read up jumps based on your favorite properties. Make short or not so short stories following the jumper's career. Post builds and discuss what your jumper would do in the situations or that one. It's a fun and imaginative hobby. The only thing I advise is, where possible, give the authors of the jumps feedback. Bullshit. No, I'm teasing. The hobby is small enough that an author, if active, will probably see said feedback. It's nice to hear both the good and the bad. Boom. Okay. Could be XP. There you go. Well, there you go. So look, I'm about an hour into this thing. I think that's a fairly good introduction. A minor league introduction, probably a ham-fisted introduction to my introduction to the beginning of my beginning to this thing. Like I said, there is not much happening with it on YouTube, with the exception of this one guy, Luciano. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 other people post anything related to Jumpchains on YouTube. One person posts 2 videos, another person just posts 1 video. It is really only Luciano's Gonzalez that has posted any sort of steady state content on YouTube. It is really on Reddit and Discord and various other forums and 4chan and various other, I guess they're looking for other sites to do it now, that this hobby really, really lives. It seems fascinating to me. My interest, I haven't built it out, done a jump yet. what I see and what I surmise is some people just look at these jump documents, and what we'll do is when I come back is it's coming up at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'm going to tap out for tonight. But what I see is some people just look at the initial jump document and just create the jumper. And then that's it. They just create the jumper and then just, that's it. And then they go on to the next jump. Some people create the jumper and then write up a little story about what they do in that world and then go on. Some people spend more time on the story aspect. Some people spend less time on the story aspect of it. Um, and that seems to be where it is. Some people are all about seeing where the various the chronology of different jumps will create the uh, the aggregate, you know, the aggregate layers and how that will generate the different builds. Um, that creates it. Some of it seems to be just the frisson of talking to other people who are into the hobbies. Some people it seems to be the authoring of the jump chain documents themselves, the creating of different jumps for different IPs that they're interested in. Much like punk rock music or haikus, there seems to be a very kind of set formula for what is constitutes a jump. And therefore, once you come to understand what that formula is, if you are very, very familiar with the IP, the intellectual property in question, then it doesn't seem to be that difficult to create the jump. And then that seems to be the thing, to give people the ability to be in or imagine your jumper going through world X, the world of the Golden Girls, the flavor of what it would be like to be in Populous. There's, Mario Kart. But then again, it's like, I mean, like, I was like, so I'm supposed to imagine myself being in Mario 64 for 10 years? I mean, there's part of me that's like, when I saw The Simpsons one, I was like, yeah, I can imagine like being in The Simpsons for 10 years. I'd be like, I'd sit in a room in The Simpsons. Like, I really dig the animation style of The Simpsons. So I was like, yeah, I could just be like, I just like take a nap in The Simpsons for 10 years. Like, I just be like, you know what I mean? Hit that alarm, hit that snooze button, wake up, move over to the chair, sit down, just look at the skyline. You know what I mean? What'd you do today? That'd be like my journal. Like, you know what I mean? That'd be like, what'd you do? Nothing. You know what I mean? Did you fight any demons? Like, not really. You know what I mean? In my head. Same thing with like Mario 64. Like, I guess when I think about it, like, could you live in Mario 64 like for 10 years? Like, yeah, easy. Like, I just like go like to like, I used like playing those games. I used to do that all the time. Like, I used to be like, so like, it was like, I really thought the graphics were cool. I like, just like, if there wasn't like a timer or anything, it's like go, like angle yourself just right. You know what I mean? Like find like a really cool angle, just like kind of like stare off into the distance, be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Just like clock out as a toad. You know what I mean? Be like, what's up? What's your perk? not giving a shit. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I'm out of range of that fucking, you know what I mean? Like, black thing on a chain, you know what I mean? He's doing his thing, you know, snaps, and I'm like over here, you know what I mean? Just gotta make sure I don't get too close to him. And I'm, what's up? You know what I mean? There goes Mario over there doing his thing. Wow. Cloud goes overhead. Day one. Chink. You know what I mean? Got to do that 365 days times 10, right? There you go. Boom. Chained it. What's next? Mortal Kombat? Fuck me. Shit. That's not gonna be as easy. Well, kind of. It won't. Then maybe if I went to Mortal Kombat world, it'd be like, do I have an option to be one of those dudes in like the background, or like Street Fighter, it'd be like one of those dudes like in the background, be like, yeah, what's up? Did that for 10 years, man. Maybe that would get tired. So just like, you know what I mean, like you'd be like in the hotel room, like overlooking that dude who's like bang, always like punching the car. It's a world, right? What do you do here? Like I drive the car up, park it, so the guy can like beat the shit out of it. That's what I do. How do you think it gets here? Someone's got to do it, right? We think it's born here. We think it magically disappears so a new one can. No, it's got to get out of the way too, right? Think that happens. My job. I think I got here. Well, how do you think I got here? Jump chain, dude. What was I here before? I hear Mario 64. Oh, I was there for 10 years. So, where am I going next? I don't know. Do 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 do. Jump chain. What's up? People don't think that. People are gonna be like, go here, go there, get into magical adventures. I'm me, man. I'm gonna jump chain my ass off. I'll be like, what I do? Nothing. I'll tell you this. Hold on. Bear with me. So traditionally, oh, traditionally I always like pull tarot cards, right? But I've been taking all of the tarot cards out of this house over time because I've been like forgetting tarot cards and needing tarot cards. So I was like take the tarot cards that I had at this house and relocating them. So I found myself with a dearth of tarot cards in this joint. So this is a set of tarot cards that we went a couple of years ago. And I was like, I told my kids, I was like, we're in a store. I'm like, oh, you know, you guys, you know, you get any sort of tarot cards yourselves that you want. And so my one kid, it's beautiful, was like picked out this set, and I was like, okay. She picked out Midnight Magic. It's like these shroom tarot cards, like mushroom tarot cards. So I don't know. So let's see what we get. Ah, 13, Death, Destroying Angel, Amanita Hisporogiria, the Death card. Change. Don't be disturbed. It's so funny that we should get this card because we're saying goodbye, Garibay. Hello, jump chains. Right? And what is the nature of every jump chain? It ends with leaving one world and entering another. And that's the essence of the question of coming to the resolution of the death card and people's classical misunderstanding of it and the classical need to understand what it really represents. Don't be scared about it. It's just change. Tim Frey, hello all. As we're just about to say goodbye. What a beautiful synchronicity. We couldn't ask for anything better. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you that they loved you today, somebody just told you goodbye.